Welcome everyone to the AllBrands show. I'm Barbara from AllBrands.com and I'm so happy to be here today. We have an amazing presentation with Mahshie. Let us know, where are you watching from? What's this crazy weather been like for you? I know there's this thing going across the United States right now and it's just a big mess, but it's a good time to be in your sewing studio doing some creative things. Look, Kathleen from Minnesota, several inches of white stuff. Oh my goodness. I would love to see some snow this year. It's still coming down. My goodness. And hello, Ellen from St. Petersburg, Florida. Oh my gosh, Francie from Michigan. And Judy from Minnesota. Oh my gosh, it's so cold here. Tell me about it. This is the best time of year to be creative and not to worry about all this crazy stuff that's going on outside, because we don't need any of that. I mean, we can sip our hot cocoa and look out the window at the pretty white stuff. Just make the most of it. Right? Oh my gosh, Susie from Florida and Elizabeth from Kentucky. Guys, we have a really cool show today. I hope that you enjoy it. We'll also be doing our $50 AllBrands.com e-gift card giveaway at the end. So to be eligible, please be sure to comment #AllBrands to be eligible to win. And yeah, so I hope that you enjoy this broadcast. I'm going to go ahead and play the intro, and then Pam will be with us. So that'll be super exciting. All right, well, we'll see you very soon with Pam Mahshie. Mahshie from Bernina.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm so glad to be here and spend some time with you today. And we've done some things virtually, but it's great to be here in person and have some fun and play together. We're using the Bernina L890 and we're going to do some fun things. We're going to do a little, you could use it as a table runner, or you could make some placemats. We're going to make it placemat size today for convenience. But we'll give you at the end, we'll give you some dimensions, and you can make it any size you want as a fun little hostess gift or present for any time of the year. We're going to do wintry this time and have some fun.
You can do seasonal like sports, you can do school themed, you can do any holiday you want to. So the sky's the limit.
Exactly. Something special for a friend in colors that you might have. And who of us doesn't have scraps of fabric at home, right? That we can draw from and put all these little projects together. So we're going to not only use the Bernina L890, but we're also going to use the ScanNCut to cut out some of these shapes and give you an idea of some other ways that you can work together.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, let's get crafty.
All right. Let's have some fun.
All right. So where are we going to start today?
All right, let's start by, first of all, let's cut out some of these shapes. Let's come on over here to the document camera real quick, and we'll share with them, everyone. There we go. We're going to start by showing you, this is our project, a very close-up of our project. But as I mentioned in the opening, we're going to be working on the L890, and we're going to use the ScanNCut to cut out some of these shapes. So we're going to first cut out our shapes. So Barbara's going to share with you how we cut out those shapes. And then we're going to come over to the machine. We're going to show you some decorative threads and how we're going to use decorative threads to do this really fun chain stitching and do raw edge applique. And then we'll put it all together using a flat lock stitch. And you see it has like a self-binding there. So our back comes around to the front and creates that border along the edge.
You know, oftentimes we forget how beautiful of stitches that an overlocker can make. So this is an overlock combination machine with chain and
overlock
cover hem stitches and overlock stitches. So this is just amazing that you could do this beautiful decorative pattern.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just cut out our fabric. Do we want to show them what fabric we picked out?
Sure. Let's show them what fabrics we picked out, because this is really kind of a fun, as I said, we're going to do a wintry theme. Yay. So we picked out this cute fabric that has these mittens on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we picked the little gingerbread and snowflakes, and we fused those on. So the first thing we did is we fused some seam on the back, and make sure that when you do cut out, you also put some Material Magic or something to stiffen your fabric first, and then put that fusible on the back side so it makes it easier to cut. We're giving you some tips from the not so professional maybe today, because we were also learning at the same time.
We were just playing.
We were playing, that's right. So that's what we're going to do, and Barbara's going to show you over at the ScanNCut how you pull those designs up and cut them out.
All right, so we have our ScanNCut here, and we have some pre-built-in patterns. You could totally create your own design by drawing it out, scanning it into the machine, and then making that into a cut file. But I found a gingerbread man that was so cute. So I went into the patterns here, and I'll just zoom in on the screen so you can see that a little bit better. Here we go.
Because you know we love our embroidery, but sometimes it's nice to have other fabric pieces on here as well to maybe give it a little more depth or dimension.
Exactly. So I found the snowflake in this first category here, and that's the snowflake that we used. And you can size it down as big or as small as you would like to. But let's go back and we will find the gingerbread man.
So
he's
cute.
Right there. Yeah, so I think we made him about
4 by 4. I think
4
we
by 4?
did. I mean, he's taller than he is wider, so
yeah,
you can make it whatever size you want, depending upon the area you have to fill.
Yeah. So it'll just ask you, do you want to do the outline? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. The outline, just the inside or the whole 3-piece part. You can just select the middle one, click OK, click Set. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and scan. I went ahead and got my fabric ready. So I'm going to zoom out here so that you can see my mat. Go down here. All right, so here's my fabric mat with my fabric blade. You'll know it's the fabric mat because it is gold on the bottom. And I put the really cute brown fabric face side down with the seam on top, and I Material Magic the fabric as well. And I'm gonna cut it, put it on there really tight, and then I'll go back to the screen. And isn't applique so fun, Pamela?
I love it, you know, and this also makes it so much easier for us to want to do applique because we don't have to trim around it. You know,
Exactly.
You can use this and not have to worry about trimming around your applique because it'll be already cut out.
Yeah. So right now I'm scanning the mat so I can know where to place my gingerbread man. We know all about lost gingerbread men today.
Yes, we do, because as we have, this has the seam on the back side. we cut them out and we took them over to the iron. And when I lifted it up and walked through the door, one of our gingerbread men fell off, and Barbara's like, "Oh, he ran away."
Oh, gosh. So I can go into the screen here. So I press this button to scan the mat. I could go in here and I can do object edit, and I can make as many as I want. So if I want to do a whole screen of them, I can. I just want to do 2 today, and then I'm going to move them around on the fabric so that they are inside of
So
the
kind of just
area.
like you do on your embroidery machine, you can just move those around
Yeah.
and get them positioned. And it's really cool that you can see your fabric there too.
Mm-hmm.
And know you're getting all the parts, and it doesn't look like you've had a bite taken out of the arm of your gingerbread man.
Exactly. I love this tool too, because if you have like a ton of different like circles or triangles, it'll automatically lay them out in a way that makes
Makes it most efficient.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So you don't have to like zoom in and move everything around, but you can zoom in here up to 400% and look at things pretty close if you want to.
So if you yourself are trying to be efficient on cutting your fabric, if you've fallen in love with the one scrap in your sewing room you only have one of.
Oh yeah. So you cut the little applique to fit that exact scrap.
That's right.
So we'll just click OK. We're going to click OK again, because somebody told me this machine has a complex and it needs to constantly be reassured, and it has to be told it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to go forward. We're going to select cut, and then you can do a test cut, but we already did that. And we're going to click start, and it is going to cut it out in 2 minutes. And here it goes. So this is an auto blade. So what it just did is it's reading the depth of the material so that you don't cut through your mat, which
I think both of us have done that.
on previous other models of machines. But this one has an auto blade, so it's really a foolproof system for making the patterns.
You know what? I always say that products like this protect us from ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because sometimes we are our own worst enemies. Wow, look at how fast it's cutting that out.
Oh, there we go. So cute, so cute. Well, and that's what I love about this overlocker pan, because it basically will tell you everything to do and do all of the settings that it can do automatically.
Yeah, just like you had on your ScanNCut there on the screen. When we come over to the 890, you'll see that it has a similar interface where you're able to pick the stitch. And I think too, sometimes people think that serging is scary.
Oh my gosh, it's so easy.
Especially now with how the 890 and the L8 series of the Bernina machines leads you through step by step on how to set up the stitch, or how it'll automatically make the selection of the appropriate length of the stitch. Just like the auto blade on here, it automatically selects the length and the appropriate size of the stitch for the kind of stitch and fabric you're going to be working with. So that makes it so very, oh, look at how cute that is.
I am a gingerbread man. It's so cute.
Perfect.
And then you just take the back off and it's sticky, and then you can iron it on to the fabric. And it's just that easy you can scan in a drawing and cut it out, or you can
pick something that's built in.
Already built in. So
fantastic. Or
very
could
cute.
you, like on our fabric here, we had mittens. So could we have scanned that fabric and created something, or picked a line drawing?
Yeah. So let's look at those. Oops. Here we go.
Okay. So,
yeah, the mittens. That's so cute. So is that easy to cut out on the ScanNCut?
Yeah, so here we are. We already fused down our snowflakes, and we fused down the gingerbread men. And what we're going to do next is come on over to the machine. And before you switch over, let me share with everyone close up the kind of, oops,
here we go.
The kind of thread we're going to be working with. So The thread we're going to be working with on this project, and you saw on the original, you can see that the thread is a little bit heavier. So the standard sewing thread or overlock thread is like a 50 weight. So it's a pretty lightweight thread. So today we're going to be working with a 12 weight thread, and you can use either metallic thread or you can use, this is a cotton thread. And because you have bigger eyes in the loopers on your machine, you're going to be able to use and accommodate these heavier threads. And because we're working to start out, we're going to do the chain stitch. We're just going to use one thread of the decorative threads in our chain looper over on the L890. So let's come on over to the machine, and we're going to take a look at the stitch that we're going to be working with. So we have this set up already, but I wanted to share with all of you that we are going to be using the chain stitch, and when I select the stitch on the screen, I have a guided and I have an expert mode. So as we said, sometimes what will happen is customers will get very fearful of making adjustments to their machines. But here, if I'm going to go from one stitch to another, it's going to pretty much hold my hand and take me through all of the steps. And we're going to use these steps when we set up the 3-thread flat lock stitch in just a minute. So I'm going to go back to the expert mode, because if I am already set up or I know how to set up the stitch, I can simply select the stitch and touch the check mark. Here, it's going to tell me all of the different positions. And because we're sewing in the middle of our fabric, our cutting blade, you definitely want to make sure it's in the down position so you don't cut through your fabrics, right? So then I simply select the check mark, and as I mentioned, it automatically selects my length and differential feed setting. And also I can select my needle to be in the up or down position. So I'm going to leave it in the down position because now as I stitch, we're going to be stitching on the wrong side of our fabric. So you can see that we have our appliques pressed on the right side of the fabric. On the back side, we have a very lightweight batting, and I like to use this lightweight batting just to kind of give a little bit of structure and support to the fabric that I'm going to be stitching on. So now all I'm going to do is just simply run some lines, some little wavy lines. And it's kind of like doing bobbin work where you're sewing upside down. I always say the hardest part of doing this is that you don't see it right away. So now when you flip it over, you see how that chain stitch is just holding those pressed on appliques in place, and it creates that really pretty texture on the fabric.
Wow. Can we look at that under the dock can?
Oh, sure. Let's.
Oh, so
isn't that
beautiful.
pretty? So it's just this line that we stitched, and we're going to stitch several more of these lines in different colors, just like you can see here where we use different colors, and that holds our fabrics in place and adds some texture and color.
So I have a question. Is this a variegated thread that you're using on this one?
Yep. This green
goodness.
and red and white is a variegated thread. So you can use variegated, and a lot of times we will use variegated threads and we don't necessarily want the stripes to show.
Mm-hmm.
So with your loopers, because it's bigger, you can also put multiple threads together and take down some of that striped look.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to stitch some lines in the various colors. And you can sew in any direction. Okay, so let me do this. So see, we have, can you see that? We have several lines that are on there that we've stitched. And with having snowflakes on there and doing these wavy lines, it kind of looks like the wisps of the wind blowing those snowflakes around. Okay, so let me do this. So come on in a little bit closer. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to thread with a different color. So now one of the biggest fears is on a serger is threading. So I'm just going to cut the thread and pull that other decorative thread out and change. Let's see, let's put this gold thread on. And I'm just going to snap it into that pre-tension. And I turn the knob, which engages the little tubes inside the machine. Can you see that? All right, so I'm going to turn on this knob and you'll see that those tubes open and close. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. So next, zoom out just right there. Right there's good. Because then when I step on the foot pedal and I hover the thread, see how it just flies right through the machine?
It's magic.
It is. It's just like magic. And you don't have to use all the bad words in your sewing room that you used to use before you had this wonderful air threading. So next, I'll just take and stitch a few more lines. And you can cross over the lines. You can do individual lines. And on here, there's no wrong answer.
Oh, look at that gold. How gorgeous.
Isn't
Oops,
that
I got
pretty?
excited. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
And that's a 12 weight thread. Now, if you stitch and you stitch with the right side of your fabric facing up, maybe zoom in there just a little bit, Barbara. On the right side, you would simply see a straight stitch, just like you would on your sewing machine. So the right side or the needle side will be straight. And the underside, there we go. See, oh, there we go. We have metallic and that cotton thread all in one shot, and it makes that chain stitch.
Wow. And that thread wouldn't necessarily go through your needle, would it?
Oh, you can.
Okay.
You can use it in your needle, especially the cotton thread. You can use in your needle. You may want to use a top stitching needle.
Wow. So go ahead and ask us questions in the comments because we'll answer your questions.
Aren't those pretty?
Oh my goodness.
Now you could add, I'm not going to add a whole lot more color on there because I kind of like just that tone on, almost tone on tone really look to that. I think if we would add the red, I think would be too strong on there for this particular project. But you could choose whatever colors of thread you wanted to, or if you're wanting to maybe add more color that matches the background fabric that you're going to be working with, feel free to add as many lines as you want. And as I said, no wrong answer because the lines are just random across your project. Just enough to kind of hold those appliques in place.
Wow.
All right.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that fun?
We've already done so much and that was so quick.
Isn't that fast? So fast. So having the right product too allows you to really open up your range of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, today we're working with the L890, machine. But also, if you're close to an AllBrands shop, you can go in and you can get one of these great machines. But if you're viewing from some other place, there's also a combo. This is called a combo machine because the combo machine allows you to do chain and cover stitching as well as overlock stitching. So Bernina has a B68 machine also, which is combination stitching. You can do the chain stitching, and you can see in the graphic that we have here that open space that you have is also large enough to accommodate projects like this. And also it's air threading too. So you're going to have that same type of threading sequence, and you can thread in any order when you have air threading. So take a look at that. Call Barbara and her team there and get yourself one of these great machines.
So that's the B68, and it can be purchased at www.allbrands.com. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add our backing. So we have a backing and the border is all going to be done in one. So we're going to switch our machine over, and we're going to...
Should we do the document?
Oh, okay. Okay, we're going to switch the machine over, but you're going to notice, and maybe, well, let's look at this one first. Do you see how that border is also the same as the back? So our backing is going to be about 4 inches bigger than what our center is. Okay, so here's our center. So whatever measurement you have in the center, just make your outside 4 inches bigger if you want this 1.5-inch size of border. So as you look at our project that we have here, can you kind of see that it's going to be bigger than what our center panel is? And we're going to, let me get this around here. Okay, good. We're going to find the center of our center panel, the middle of our center panel. And then we're also going to find the center of our backing. Okay, so we'll just put a little finger press right there. And the reason that this is important is so that when we stitch, we have the same amount on the left side and the right side, so that when we finish, we have the same amount we can turn in and finish off our project. So we don't have to make sure that we don't have to add another piece of fabric there. It's all going to be using that same piece of fabric. All right, so let's come on over to the machine, and we're going to set it up for a 3-thread flat lock stitch. So we're going to go from the chain and cover stitch, or the chain stitch, all the way over to the 3-thread flat lock. So the first thing I'm going to do is touch that guided mode. So as I showed you earlier, it's going to take me from this chain stitch, and I don't want to do that stitch, and the 3-thread flat lock is going to be under the overlock tab. So I follow along until I find 3-thread flat lock wide. So I'll touch that. And then the first thing it tells me is to raise my presser foot. Simple as that. Touch the arrow, and it shows me to cut the threads that are in the machine. So I'll just cut the threads. And again, that's sometimes very scary for someone who is not familiar with serging, or if you're going to be using a machine that's not holding your hand. And if you're working on your machine at home, sometimes you feel like you're out there all by yourself, or you can't find your instruction book. Well, you don't have to worry about it. It's all built right in. I'm looking for another spool of thread. There we go. All right, so we've cut our threads, and then it will tell us what presser foot to use on the machine. It also will show us what pressure to have our pressure set. Those are all numbered. And it will also show us where to place our needle. Now, I'm going to step, because I finished with my needle in the lowest position, I can simply tap on the foot pedal and it will bring the needle to the highest position. I'm going to open the door and it has all of my tools are right here in the front of the door. So it makes it, again, easy and handy and convenient. And I'm simply going to move this needle. And did you notice that I didn't pull the thread out of my needle yet? The reason that I don't pull it out right away is because if I accidentally drop the needle, that thread is going to hold on to it and prevent it from falling into the machine. So now I just move this needle over to the overlock position. And let me get in there a little bit closer because I'm sitting a little far away from the machine. There we go. And we're going to slide the needle into the left position because we want to have a wide stitch. We can stitch up to 9 millimeters wide on the L890, and that will allow us to make some really decorative stitches on the machine. All right, so now if I wasn't sure how to move that needle, do you see that little video camera that's right there? I can touch the video camera and it's going to show me right there on the screen how to make those adjustments. So I don't have to, again, find the book or wonder how do I make the changes. It's all right there. So I continue to move forward. So now I'm going to bring my cutting blade into the sewing position. And here it shows my width is going to be at 6. But I'm making my stitch wider because I know I want that stitch to be at the widest setting. Then also, I'm going to remove the cover that we were sewing flat with, and I'm going to slide on the looper cover. And I also need to activate my upper looper, and it tells me that right here. So I simply turn on this knob, step on the foot pedal, and my looper comes right into sewing position. Next, I don't have to worry about anything with this looper converter because we're doing a 3-thread stitch. Stitch selector is in the O position for the from the rolled hem or overlock stitching. And MTC, which is that micro thread control, I'm going to bring it to the number 2 setting so that it gives me even a wider stitch. Now here comes the real fun. This is threading. And in the past, you'd probably go, threading? Fun? How can it be fun when I'm having to crawl underneath my machine? Well, here we have air threading. And you can thread your machine in absolutely any order. And when you thread your needles first, you don't have to worry about getting the threads all tangled up. So I typically thread from left to right, and you can pivot your foot out of the way. Simply thread your needle, and then we're going to move on to our loopers. So by pivoting that foot out of the way, it's easy to access the needle, and we just pivot that right back into place. Now, threading our loopers. So all of our Bernina sergers have what is called one-path threading. So when we have one-path threading, every time we are using a needle or the loopers, they always follow the same thread path, which makes it so much easier to remember. Now, just as I threaded earlier, I'm simply going to turn this knob over, and you see that the tubes are connected there. And I step on my foot pedal, hover the thread, and just let it go, and it's going to fly right through the machine. Oh, I just love that. Every time I do it, it's just like magic. Same thing with our lower looper. Place the thread, and it flies right through the machine. Okay, now the machine is, when I touch this check mark, I I need to bring this back to sewing. It automatically has set my stitch. It has set all of the thread control dials, or sometimes better known as tension dials. I like to call them thread control dials because that's exactly what it's doing, is it's controlling the amount of thread that's going on to our fabric. So with this stitch, because I've stitched it before and I want to have a much more satiny edge, I can shorten my stitch length. Now, once I make this adjustment, if I know I want to use this setting repeatedly, I can touch the little heart and I can save this into my memory and I can type in however I want to label it. So let me just type in table. All right, and I can also put in that I used a 12 weight thread. And I can program in up to 40 different characters for each entry, and I can enter up to 100 different settings. So if I'm doing a 4-thread overlock stitch and I want to use it as a gathering stitch or attaching elastic or sewing on different fabrics, all of those are different settings, but I can save them into the machine under their specific settings. Okay, so now we're ready to sew. And wasn't that easy? So now all I need to do is take my piece of fabric, and again, you can see I kind of have it centered, or I do have it centered there. And I'm going to slide this up underneath my presser foot, a little bit ahead of where I want it to start stitching, because I haven't actually formed a stitch yet. So now as I start to stitch, oh, I know what I was going to show you. Look at this little seam guide. Because I'm sitting sideways here, it's not always our best sewing that we do on camera, but you can, because you can attach this little seam guide. And I can slide this seam guide over to rest right against the edge of my fabric. So now as I stitch, I can keep that right along the edge and stitch. And we're just going to stitch down this edge.
The needle moves so fast up and down that the camera
Didn't get it.
camera is making it look like it's stop motion. It's very fast and quiet.
Oh, super quiet. Super, super quiet. Okay, so now we have our stitch, and I used again a heavier thread in that upper looper. So now I simply take the stitch. It's called a flat lock stitch. So you just pull on it. You just pull on this stitch and it lays completely flat. Do we want to come over here to the other camera?
I love it, Pam. This is so cute.
So you can use flat lock on a lot of different
Garments.
You can use it for hemming. You could use it for decorative work. You can use it for, I'm sure there's a lot of quilters that are out there watching. You can use it to sew together your pieces of batting. And we might later on drop that in, because I have a sample that shows the pieces of batting that have been restitched together, and it's completely flat. So you don't have any bulk or thickness after you've stitched it together. And some will say, well, you know, I can do that on my sewing machine, but your sewing machine doesn't have differential feed. So the differential feed helps lay those stitches and keep all the fabrics laying nice and flat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we don't let batting go to waste.
And we
Not
don't.
here.
No, we don't let anything go to waste, do we? Okay, so let me just stitch the other side real quick for you. And then I'll show you how to finish it up, because that's all there is to it. So here we have our the other side that I'm placing wrong. This, as you can see, I'm placing wrong sides together. So that decorative stitch is on the outside of our project. All right. And I love that seam guide. It comes with your machine. You can use it for guiding accurate seam edges, for tucks of any kind. All right, so now we have a tube. Oops, are we?
Yep.
Go this
I
way?
can switch. Thanks for putting up with my camera work, everybody. Oops. All right.
Let's see.
Okay, so there we go. All right, so now we have this tube.
I'm seeing a very cute pillow cover right now too.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
so many different things.
So then I usually just reach my hands in. Oh, there we go. Oh, we can leave it right there.
Okay.
Just reach my hands in like this and just pull down the side, and it flattens out the stitch again on both sides. And then I usually kind of wiggle, wiggle, and shimmy, shimmy so that it evens out. Let's see, you want to go here?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
my goodness.
Isn't that cute? So now you have the back that's wrapped around to the front, and you would press this. You would press it so it lays flat, and then at the top, when you come down so you see your hem, you just fold it in, and then fold it in again, and press it. And you can either do the cover stitch, you could do a chain stitch, you could straight stitch it with your sewing machine, but that's all there is to it.
Wow.
Isn't that fun?
That's
and it's
so
so
easy.
fast and easy to do, and you can experiment with stitches on your serger.
Oh my gosh.
So we did a 3-thread flat lock stitch here on the outside edge to join the front and back. And then we did the chain stitch in the middle to make those wavy, sweepy lines on the middle to hold the appliques in place.
Oh wow.
Easy,
Wow.
right? So how long did that take us?
We're 40 minutes, 41 minutes, so we can show
There
some
we
things. Do you
go.
have some samples that you want to show?
Yeah. So now I have a few things that I want to share with you. Where we've also used chain stitching. And I'm going to grab one more out of my bag while I have a little bit of time here. So this is like my Mary Poppins bag. So here we were looking at the chain stitch that we had earlier. So you can use, on the front of this bag, I use the right side of the fabric facing up, and it looks just like cross hatching that you do on your sewing machine.
That is genius.
Isn't that cool?
So that's a Bernina shopping bag that
It's a
you
Bernina shopping bag that I just
upcycled.
I upcycled and upcycled.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can use that same chain stitch. This is, can you see how it's kind of gathered there?
Let's see. Okay. Right under there.
There.
Gorgeous.
You see that gathering? That is gathered using the chain stitch also. So it'll gather it up. And we did a 3-thread flat lock stitch, but this is a 2-thread flat lock stitch. And using the ladder or the needle side, and again, I mentioned the 9mm wide stitching. Here we've run 1/8" ribbons side by side, so it gives that checkerboard effect. So that's really a lot of fun to do. Here's another, this little dress, we used chain and cover stitching in this peekaboo area to make our own fabrics.
That is genius. And the texture of it is so beautiful.
Right.
Wow.
And the binder was used to bind the edge of the hem and that surplus front on the dress.
Yes.
And I stitched it upside down with that heavy thread in my chain looper, so it looks like a decorative stitch rather than just the straight stitch that you typically think of or see on a cover stitch.
One thing that I love about this overlocker is how many accessories there are available to do all of these amazing optional stitches.
Yeah, yeah. And the binders, we mentioned the B68 machine.
Mm-hmm.
Those same binders fit on the B68.
That's amazing.
Yes, yes. So those binders you can use with either the L890 or the B68 machine.
Okay.
Which is fantastic.
So in the description of this video, we'll have a link that you can click on to see the Bernette B68, the Bernina L860, and I'll put the binder foot
890.
890.
890. Yeah. We do have an 860
Yeah, that's
also,
the overlocker only.
That's the overlocker only.
Thank you.
That's right. Okay, here's another table runner that we did with the chain stitching. And can you see the metallic, or a little bit of metallic that's on there?
Mm-hmm.
Just always adds that little pop of sparkle and color that all of us really like. And then the block that's in the middle, that's also stitched with a 4-thread overlock stitch, and using that seam guide so that all of our stitching is uniform and equal.
Wow.
Yeah, fun.
That's
Easy.
beautiful.
Easy. Here, this was, as we looked at this, we're like, we see jellyfish. But these, again, this is like taking your ScanNCut, cutting out shapes again, positioning them on a foundation. And this happens to be a quilt. And it has multiple panels. But
so I'll put it on this camera and you can show the whole quilt.
Pretty
big. Here, do you want me to help?
There we go. Can you see that?
Yeah. It's gorgeous. Oh my goodness. And it's nice to have the texture come out. It's kind of 3D.
Right.
Using the bottom side of the chain stitch.
And so many times too, now this is not quilted through.
Oh, sorry.
Oops, which way are we going? This is not quilted.
There we go.
There we go. Those decorative lines are not holding it to the backing. But there is, as you can see on there, can you see those little wavy lines of long arm stitching? It doesn't take away from anything that we have on the front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you can stitch over it. You can stitch through it. If you use, and this whole quilt was pieced together with my 4-thread overlock stitch. And it doesn't take away or add bulk if you're doing long arm stitching on top of it.
So we have a question that came in. How would you do a quilt on an overlocker? Do you have any suggestions on how to maneuver that in the area?
You mean to actually quilt it or piece it?
Like to do this function on a quilt. Would you do the panel first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I love that this machine has a longer arm.
Yeah, it has a much wider space.
Yeah.
So you definitely, let me get my head out of the way there. You have 5.5 inches of space. So you could, and you can, I should say, stitch panels of a quilt. You can stitch the back of a bag. You can, if you're wanting to do some of this chain and cover stitching on the front of a sweatshirt or jacket, you can definitely get that in this interior. Plus, it also has a free arm, and it has an extension table that also comes with it too.
And I love that you can stick your whole arm through that hole to get to the other side of the needle.
Yeah, and also for carrying it. It's very convenient to carry the machine too.
Yes, what a wonderful machine.
But you hardly have to ever touch the hand wheel on these machines either, because you have the Bernina foot pedals that you simply just touch the back and it will raise and lower your presser foot. Oh, we forgot to put the freehand system in, but it does have the freehand system also. And you get very accustomed to working with that knee lift especially if you're attaching elastics or if you're going to be needing to reposition any other type of product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The knee lifter is my favorite thing. And I love that it's also on the B68.
That's right. There are a lot of these features that are on the top of the line machines, but are also on the B68. One of the big differences, though, is going to be that on the Bernina sergers, you have a DC motor, where on the Burnett's, you're going to have an AC motor. So you'll feel a difference in the power that the machine has. It's still going to sew through multiple layers and thicknesses. You're just going to find that it's a little more, there's a little more noise to it than what you have with the DC motor.
Yeah, we get spoiled on our Berninas.
Yes, we do. They're very, very quiet. Yeah. And the width of your stitch, as I mentioned, is a little bit smaller on the Burnett's than it is on the Berninas as well.
Oh my gosh.
So,
and plus the Bernina has that amazing interface that walks you through setting up each stitch on the screen
Exactly.
of the machine.
Exactly. It's like having a teacher sitting right next to you each and every time you're ready to sit down at your machine.
Yeah, I called it best friend, but teacher is better because sometimes best friends don't always give you the best
friends
advice.
lead you in the wrong direction too. You know what I call it is, I call it the GPS of sewing.
Okay.
Because it takes you from where you are to where you want to go.
Exactly.
And just like a GPS. Now, I know sometimes GPS doesn't always take us where we want to go either, but this definitely does lead you and get you from point A to point B without having the frustrations that you would typically have in making adjustments.
Of course. And I have to say, this serger is like my favorite. I'm going to come sit with you.
Okay, everybody, before we get to the end, please comment hashtag AllBrands because we're going to do a giveaway. And so I'll give you a few seconds. And thanks, everyone, for your comments. I really appreciate you guys saying that you want an AllBrands in your state. Currently, we're in Louisiana and Texas. I'll actually bring up our locations for you. Baton Rouge, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations in Louisiana. The closest to St. Louis might be Shreveport. And then we have 2 in Texas. So Houston, so it's South Houston by NASA and San Antonio. So please come and visit us if you get a chance, especially before the end of December, because Bernina has some amazing sales going on and financing. So don't miss out on that. Okay, so let's do our giveaway. And drum roll, please. And our winner is Sarah Murphy. Congratulations, Sarah. Please email me at events@allbrands.com to be entered, to be emailed your $50 allbrands.com e-gift card. So thank you so much, so much, so much. Okay, and so back to Pam.
It went over.
Oh my
It is
gosh.
so much fun to work with, and you know, it's just been so much fun to be here and spend some time with you.
Oops, that's okay.
That's our other camera.
We're done with that one. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for visiting and showing us your inspiration of all these amazing.
I love creative
so
ways
gorgeous.
of using sergers.
Wow.
As I was saying to them in the store before we came in here, I like to take people off the edge with their sergers.
Yes, I'm ready to be off of the edge. This is amazing. So I've only really been using my serger for like stretchy, like garment sewing, but you can totally jump off the edge and do something artistic with your serger.
Yep, absolutely you can. And the use of decorative threads, another time we'll have to also talk more about blending threads, how you can take these decorative threads and you can put them together. Or if you have an embroidery machine and you want to put 3 to 5 of the embroidery threads in one looper, you can do that too.
Yeah. I see another sample that we haven't shared yet.
Oh, this one?
The basket. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
the
go.
basket?
I'll go switch the camera again.
Yeah,
so that we can see
I
it.
love this little basket. And this is a pattern from Deb Canham. And this also will show, we've used an 8 weight thread. So that's even heavier than what we've been using today. But you'll see the difference in the gold thread and the red thread. So the difference is 9 millimeters on the gold and 7.5 on the red. And the red is the widest that any other serger can sew.
I zoomed out so everyone could see how cute this little basket is.
Isn't that cute? And then we did a little gathered flower there on the front.
There is no way that this is such a thick
Yeah,
stitch.
yeah. And it, again, making adjustments to the width. And, you know, a lot of times customers will think that, oh, I have to make adjustments when I use these heavy threads. And I did myself when I first started. And because I put the same thread in the upper and the lower looper, I didn't have to make any adjustment at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And it surprised me too.
My favorite thing about this overlocker is just how user-friendly it is. And you don't have to do a lot of like setting and
Adjustments to it.
and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's been great to be here with you and spend the day and time and have some fun and be creative with everyone out there.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. This is the AllBrands show. Leave us a comment, a like. If you haven't yet, please click the bell to subscribe to learn more. And yeah, we'll hopefully be having some more videos with Pam soon. So, all right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.